Hey, how is it going? Welcome. I accidentally hit the button just as I was setting up to hit the button. So, no countdown, no preparation. That's just how we roll here. We're doing it live.
That's good. I got scared. I didn't hear a countdown.
Yeah, no, I literally was reaching over to that little mini keyboard that I've got that I have mapped to do the transition, and somehow my finger just barely brushed the right key, and it happens. So anyway, how's everyone doing? It is November 19th, 2025. This is, of course, the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and we have Corbin Davenport in the house today. Well, in the
Hello.
stream.
Yeah, I'm not at your house, no. That would be quite the drive.
It would be, but you do make some ambitious drives sometimes.
Yes, unfortunately. Um
You
yeah,
mean,
it's been a week. Uh Mostly fine, honestly, which is good. Um Really weird weather though. It was like dropping down to the 30s yesterday, and I went on a walk and it was very cold, and then today it has been in the 60s all day. I think briefly in the 70s. So,
weather works in mysterious ways.
yeah, it do be like that on occasion.
Yeah, and it did get down into the 30s last night here, and every time I set foot outside looking for one of my cats that just decided they weren't ready to come in, every single time I just walk out there and be like, yeah, I'm not spending more than like 3 minutes out here. I'm gonna go back
Yeah,
inside. It sucks. Um, I
yeah.
I spent too many years of my life going to college in a place where uh it it routinely got down into like the 20s, teens, and sometimes actually below zero. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. It is not a. Why do people live in this? Why does anyone choose this?
I mean, I I've not extensively lived somewhere where it is close to 0 degrees for many days of the year. So I'm somewhat out of experience. I will say generally I prefer colder to hot. But
Yeah,
everything in variance. I
yeah.
guess
Georgia has
again,
that unpleasant heat and humidity problem. Um, I don't know. I've also lived in Las Vegas.
well, I'm not there anymore, but it is the same
Right,
climate. Yes.
right. But I mean, having lived in Las Vegas, the heat there was brutal. It definitely hit like the 110 and above mark several times. That being said, you know what? There's air conditioning and it worked pretty freaking well. So I don't know. I get that both suck, and if I'm forced to choose, I think I just do better in a warmer climate. But I don't know. Maybe. Well, honestly, what it all comes down to for me, the thing that sucks about cold climates, snow. Driving just is intolerable when when you've got so
Yeah,
much snow and ice.
I would imagine that would be an issue. Um, does not happen often here. It did last winter, I think. Um, got a couple good snows in. Of course, good snow, relatively speaking, is like 3 inches. That was kind of cool. Um, but yeah. And also on a drawing shift in tone, I'm using a new Razer Kiro 2K webcam. This time I'm reviewing it. I should have already had the review done, but it's been a busy week, so I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. And I'm noticing that it is losing focus of me constantly.
To be fair, your old webcam did that a fair amount too. So
Yeah, I think this one's worse. Um, might have something to do with the fact that I'm on a Mac and I don't get the impression they uh tried all that
support that.
hard. Yeah, I did install. Really gross. I did install Razor's software. I think, or I downloaded it. Maybe I didn't install it. Okay, so I'll have to check that. But I don't think it. I don't know if it works on Mac at all. And yeah, I will say, yeah, not a fan because of the thing. Also, it doesn't like my USB hub, but I don't know if that's necessarily its fault, or just something with how my monitor is handling USB devices because it's doing its own weird thing because it's a smart monitor. But this does have a privacy shutter, which is cool. So I can just go shoop, shoop, shoop. That's fun.
Indeed.
And also, I'm noticing I think my hair is more bleached this time than the last one. So that's fun. I messed, as previously stated, I messed up the green, so most of that is washed out now. So it's just leaving my fully bleached hair. So that's fun. I've got the bottle of purple, I think it is, that I'll try later. So stay tuned.
The tech blogger hair life cycle. Have to do colors. So let's see. Well, speaking of, you know what? I don't even have a transition. There's just literally no good transition to this. But
speaking of failures.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Corbin went Super Saiyan. Yeah.
Let's get a Kamehameha.
Oh dear. Okay, moving on. So there was a really funny thing where was this the same? This was the same day, right? No, it was.
As you did your hair? Maybe.
No. I was the Cloudflare and GitHub. I don't think they were the same day.
No, they were a day. They were a day apart.
Yeah.
One was the 18th.
Yeah.
GitHub was the 19th. So yeah. Anyway, that we talked about this 2 weeks ago. I think there was a bunch of stuff that went down because of AWS, if I remember. And now this last week, actually yesterday and today, Cloudflare and GitHub both nuking themselves.
Yes, Cloudflare went down on the 18th, took down, as usual, a bunch of websites with it. I guess they didn't put their reasoning on here. I think I read somewhere that it was like a test of they were doing like load balancing testing and something like spiraled out of control. But whatever the reason for it, all the usual websites went down. I saw people complaining about like ChatGPT and Twitter, which ideally Twitter stays down forever. That's a shame it came.
That would be really
back.
Cool.
Yeah, we'd all be a lot better off for it. So yeah, that happened, and then a day later, GitHub had problems. So the website was working normally and most of the stuff, but the actual Git connections were not working. So it was GitHub without Git. It was just Hub. I stole that joke. But it only lasted a couple hours. I very quickly wrote an article about it, and then like 2 hours later it was back. But I did run like a Git pull on a couple repos, and it did just totally error out. It was like, this repo does not exist, which was interesting. That would certainly alarm me if I didn't know the outage was happening. But before I tried that, I'd be like, oh shit, where's my account? But yeah, it's all good now. Don't really have anything insightful to say about this, I don't think, other than the usual. This is what happens when we get just everything merges together under late stage capitalism. Everyone's using the same 5 servers, the same five content distribution nodes, and this just happens when you do that. So I guess just always a reminder to have some offline stuff ready where you can. Obviously, for me, if like Slack goes down, I don't really have a functional backup. I'll be honest. That's up to other people. uh, I'm just gonna pretend like I'm working.
Which it's funny. I was trying to, or it's funny you say that. I was trying to come up with a good joke based on the developers, that old comic, I think XKCD, where some developers are like sword fighting with toy swords or whatever, and
It's the compiling.
yeah, the manager asking, "Hey, shouldn't you be working?" It's compiling. But this is the shouldn't you be working? Oh no, GitHub's down. Okay, resume.
Yeah, you
Which
can't use the compiling excuse anymore now that Apple Silicon exists, but you still have Cloudflare.
yeah. Though ironically, or not ironic, I don't know. Obviously the key thing with Git is it's all supposed to be distributed anyway. It's all supposed to be local copy. So technically, GitHub being down is not an excuse to not work. But I would argue that maybe it still is.
Bold of you to say, Corbin, you hadn't seen some of the garbage apps I've seen.
Yes, truth. So also, by the way, hello to Hoopy, Austin, and Diablo. Good having you guys here. So yeah, the I don't okay, so first off, I just have to say, how is it that Twitter is reliant on Cloudflare? I mean, I get it because Elon's cheap, and I'm sure offloading as much to Cloudflare as possible is certainly ideal for him, but Twitter seems like it should be big enough by now that it shouldn't be reliant on much of Cloudflare's services.
They're definitely on like the free plan.
Yep.
It's gotta be it.
That sounds about right. And even if they're not, I fully expect Elon isn't paying his bills.
Yep. I'm proud to say that nothing I work on, none of my projects use Cloudflare because they don't need it. Although most of my websites are on GitHub pages, but that never went down. So I'm coming out of this on top.
Lucky you. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of certainly we shouldn't have everything consolidated to the same handful of services, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder if this is one of those times where the question should just be, if we are going to consolidate on a bunch or on a few services, maybe those services should actually just be a little better at staying up. Because look, when one goes down, it's kind of a massive disruption to like everything, or at least a lot of things. But we understand it. We accept that, okay, from time to time, this is going to happen, and right. That's okay. Like, it's not okay, but we accept it. We recognize
machine error, human error. You're never gonna fully eliminate either of those.
Right. That being said, it's been a month, and we've seen 4 major services have fairly significant outages. That's kind of crazy. That's a lot. And part of me wants to say maybe these companies shouldn't be firing as many people because it seems like that's having an effect. And part of me is also just thinking, guys, you're kind of basically just helping your competition make the argument that they shouldn't be with you. Or that the competition is a more viable option. That's what I meant. My brain's half off today. Sorry. It's on sale. 50% off.
Oh, Black Friday deal.
Yeah. I guess Black Friday is also coming up real soon. Um,
I'm not talking about it.
yeah, no talking about that. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say on these. You.
Yep. I got Diablo said how many service credits can you give? Uh, yeah, I be funny if they just imagining it in the same context as every time like YouTube TV has a carriage dispute, you get here's $10, go away. Shut
Yeah.
up.
Um, well, it actually, little known fact, GitHub is giving everybody 100 free commits.
Oh, thank goodness. I was
Yes.
running low.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'll tide us over.
I need that as long as you can't test GitHub Actions locally. That's a lot of my commits, because that's the thing. Like if you go look at any repo where I've set up like continuous integration or cloud builds or something, there's like 20 or 30 commits that's just like fix GitHub Actions, fix GitHub Actions, fix shit, fix.
Yep. I haven't really done a lot with GitHub Actions, so minimal experience there, but yeah, I've kind of seen and heard. And seeing
It's
as you
so
can't
great
really
when it
test it locally, like, what choice do you have? You just
Yeah.
kind of have to try stuff and push it.
Yeah, if I was, doing this all professional, like you could just set up another repo and test in there. But I don't care. It doesn't really matter for my use case.
Yeah.
So, things are dead. And also, moving on to, this was last week, but Cody said he did not talk about it much.
No, that was the other subject, but
Oh, okay. Well, you can talk now. I don't know what I'm talking about.
no, so kind of good news. The terrible fear that Android sideloading was going away is somewhat abated, slightly, kind of, but not entirely. Yeah, so Google posted a blog post basically to say, hey, we're actually going to try a slightly different method. We're going to develop a new workflow for people to still continue doing sideloading, but it's going to be for more advanced users. Basically, kind of basically saying, that trick that everyone figured out a long time ago where you have to go to settings and then the about screen and tap the developer or tap the build number a bunch of times, and that unlocks a different screen where you have to go in and change a different setting or two. All of that stuff, yeah, that's not scary enough. What we're gonna do is create a different level of to make sure sideloading is complicated and tricky and scary. So yeah, that's basically their plan. They're going to open up some sort of advanced workflow for, quote, experienced users that's going to, I guess, convey the dangers of sideloading and then basically just let you do it. So that's going to be a thing. I don't know that I love that, but it's at least better than like just sort of killing sideloading entirely. And they're also going to create a new type of account for people that want to do like hobbyist development or like small scale distribution. By that I mean some narrow group of people who would be able to use your apps. And that's going to be a free account, apparently. But it's going to allow apps to only have a limited number of installs, which is super weird. And by the way, sorry, I kind of skipped over apart. They're still going to require that all apps be signed by some sort of Google created account, uh, but they'll allow either obviously signing with a full developer account, or you'll be able to get one of these free accounts that does a limited install count capability, which I am so confused by that part. That makes no sense to me. It literally saying, hey, we're going to somehow track install counts. That alone kind of feels like a weird privacy invasion. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I like, obviously this is better than what they talked about, but I, I don't know. I feel like where Android is right now is as far as I would want any software platform to go, I think. Just in terms of like, you can't install your stuff. There's a bunch of warnings there. I understand the psychological and like practical effect of like all these warnings don't necessarily stop like social engineering and that kind of stuff. But like, I don't know how much you can reasonably work around that while still allowing people who want to install and build their own software use that. And it seems like Google Play Protect is like the perfect uh you know I don't know what the right word is, but like, I think that that's kind of the other side of this is like, if your goal is to clamp down on malware and stuff, it seems like Play Protect's done an okay job at that. Like, there's still stories of malware getting into the Play Store, so obviously more changes need to happen on the Play Store's end to catch those. And there's always going to be stuff that slips through in the same way that, like, Windows Defender, it's not perfect, but it's been a massive improvement for the Windows ecosystem to the point where most people don't need any kind of other malware protection or antivirus or whatever. Like, Defender's fine. So I feel like where Android is right now is pretty good. And again, beyond that, I think it's mostly just like human review. You have more humans reviewing the apps that go to the Play Store, and maybe working on the filters and Play Protect to make them more robust. But Google is firing like 15% of its workforce every quarter, so I don't know how practical that is. They should stop doing that for many reasons. But I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not seeing, they can change the wordage and the interface flow of enabling side loading some more. I think that's fine, but I don't really want to go beyond that, especially when we're getting into the spot where it's getting really bad with app stores being used to control software that should be allowed. Like, we already talked about how Apple kicked off that ICE tracking app off the App Store. Another report just came in that says the app that ICE uses to identify people, which is illegal, is on the Apple App Store. Google lets in a ton of crap on the Play Store. We know this. And also doesn't always act quickly to get stuff off. And I don't know. I think with all this context, like, it's, at least in the US, it's getting more critical to have other ways of installing apps. I know obviously this is like, everyone else in the world is like, welcome, you idiot, this is what we were talking about the whole time. And I agree that like that should have been there the whole time. I've said many times I wish my iPhone had side loading. I still got an iPhone for other reasons. But at this point in time, in my typical American centric viewpoint, I get really uncomfortable with more talk of locking down side loading. Beyond, again, I've been saying this for years. Obviously, all this is something I've always want.
So, yeah, I pretty much agree on all of that. There's really no good position here where you can argue that one company should have control over what you can install on your devices, which isn't to say that there aren't there are justifiable levels by which you could say, sure, let's block certain things. If we can identify malware, like nobody is out there saying Windows Defender was a bad thing and that it shouldn't exist. Like it has a purpose.
Maybe malware bites. Or McAfee.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I miss when when antivirus software was actually doing antivirus. But anyway, so I'm not against having more security and more levels of like anti-scamware. I'm totally for that. But I don't like that this just is constantly inching closer and closer. And the notion that Google is in so much control of it without any sort of oversight, without like other companies being able to sort of play in that same field. Like it, and I believe I said this when we first talked about it. One of the ideas that I think should have been built into this concept right from the start was basically you should be able to install a certificate provider, or well, install certificates just like you can with SSL. Basically to say, yeah, we trust Google, and we trust maybe, I'm gonna say Amazon, but please. Or, maybe your company, the company you work for, maybe you install a certificate from them saying, yeah, our software is, like, trusted. Again, sometimes kind of sketchy if your company is sketchy, but it is what it is. These sorts of things feel like kind of the line that needs to be supported and allowed. And Google seems to be kind of choosing the, nah, we're just gonna kind of own this. Yeah, I would really have trouble trusting Adobe. Let's see. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know that I feel good about this. And just to give maybe a better example of a certificate authority that should exist, somebody who does like trusted open source software, or let's say why am I suddenly blanking on their name? The legal organization that does all the free speech advocacy.
ACLU.
Yes, the ACLU. Like, if the ACLU wanted to distribute apps and did not want to lock them behind Google's control, like, that is a group I would trust to, install their certificate. Anyway, so these are, there's a certain level here where I want to see the ability for other companies to do something here. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm sitting at with that aspect of it, because yeah, I mean, you mentioned Apple kicked off the ice tracking thing. Google did the same thing too. Like, it got less news, but Google did exactly the same thing with a different app.
I forgot there was multiple of those apps.
Yeah. And sadly, not the same app across multiple platforms. It was different apps for different platforms, which, yeah.
Now I have bookmarks on my home screen to 2 of the websites that people are using for that. Because as I write this, ICE is in town. Yay! Man,
someone, like, you go to a party, someone always forgets the ice. This time, the party is ruined because of ice. Go figure.
Yeah, it's, weird how they always complain about, like, supposedly gangs terrorizing American cities, but I can't say I ever, that thought was ever in my head until
Until
this
I showed
gang
up.
came.
Yeah.
This gang came to my city. I was like, wait a minute. Anyway,
Yeah. So, and I got to go back and just reiterate this. It does not feel good to me that Google is creating accounts that, yes, they're free, so that's something. But the idea that Google is creating accounts that, one, you're still, as far as I understand, you're still going to have to do some sort of identity verification with those. And
I
two,
would assume so, or else what's the point? Because
right,
bad actors can just regenerate email addresses all day long.
exactly. Uh, and two, and this one just, I don't like the idea that there's install counts associated with this. Um, if, if let's say you're making an app that you're distributing to all of your friends and they're distributing it around, and one day like you give your app to another person and all of a sudden they can't install it because whoops, you didn't pay to distribute your app to more people, basically. Like, that's kind of feeling icky in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it's just recreating the system where at some point they can yoink that for reasons that might not be strictly malware related.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I'm sure if the people who made those various ice tracking apps try to use that, and someone from the federal government would ask Google to remove it, I'm sure they would. So,
Also, I'm kind of curious now, because this actually introduces an, a complicated privacy issue beyond just Google knowing about the developer. If a developer creates an app and, let's say, distributes it to I don't know, let's just say there's going to be a limit of 50, I don't know, however many, let's say they distribute it to 48 people, but somehow it's installed to 49 accounts. And I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming the install counts will be account based, not or they'll be counted by accounts, not by devices. Because if one person installs the app to like 10 devices, that could chew through your account pretty quick. And believe me, there are people like me who probably would do that. So I'm wondering, does the developer get to see who has installed their app? Because it's kind of a problem if they can't. Like, if they find out, like, oh, hey, I should have more installs for other people, but I don't. So obviously the app has gotten out to other people and they're installing it. And then you have no control over that. So shouldn't you be able to see them? But at the same time, then that's a problem where, should you be able to see them? Google could be giving you information that maybe you're not supposed to have. So they've kind of created new complications here. Google really kind of is setting themselves up to sort of burn the privacy candle on the wrong ends.
yeah, I mean, again, I feel like how Android exists now is mostly fine. Like, especially because one of the ongoing topics I remember covering over and over and over again when I was at Android Police was Android getting into that period where it didn't need new features constantly. And every operating system update turned into, okay, we made a lot of bad mistakes in the first couple versions of Android. How do we make all of this safer and work better? And that was just the project of Android for many major releases in a row. Arguably, like Android, 6.0 onward, 7.0, like the features eventually tampered down or, just moved to like inside apps or other services. The operating system itself mostly became like, how do we take all these like weird accessibility hacks that people have been using for forever and make it safer and make it easier to use and clamp down on the bad behavior while still allowing apps to do a lot of stuff. And I feel like that was a worthwhile effort and it yielded pretty good results. It just comes back to the problem of like, if you have an open system, there will be some exploiting of that. But at a certain point, you either have to say, okay, we understand there's risk and we can mitigate that, or you say, we're going to lock it down. And this still feels like it's on the locking down side of that. Like in practice, or on paper, it's not, but in practice, it kind of feels that way.
I would argue it definitely is on paper locking down. It's not a total lockdown in the sense of just saying, okay, it's over, it's done. But it is definitely like, this is a lock. It's a lock for which they're going to give out keys, but those keys come with a lot of qualifications, a lot of compromises. So yeah, I again, like, I feel a little iffy about this. And look, obviously I was basically, I don't want to say a cheerleader for a lot of Google's changes to Android in those days. But I certainly wrote a lot of pretty positive articles basically just saying, hey, obviously there is a lot of good stuff here. Like, it's good that they're going to create APIs to enable certain features that other people, or that many of the developers had to use those workarounds to get through. So that was good. They did do the right thing there, and it's something that they should do. But it's not something that I think, in most instances, it's not something that they did in a... Oh, now I'm not sure how I want to say this. In many of the instances, they did it maybe not in the correct ways, but at least they obviously were doing it for the right reasons. And in most cases, not all, they gave developers good tools to be able to recreate the things that they needed to do, and with a better API, or at least a good enough API. There are some instances where they didn't. To this day, I'm still kind of mad at how they handled clipboard access. I'm also really not thrilled with some of their choices over like stuff that floats on the screen, the chat bubble thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at least they obviously were trying, and I'm sure they had a lot of considerations that they were trying to balance in order to prevent potential abuse. So I get it then. This one, I get what they're going for, but I think they're going about it the wrong way. Also, well, hold on.
Yeah. I mean, I think if... I don't know. I think the other version of this that I would be okay with, that they're not going to do because it doesn't really solve anything except some of the arguments about this, is to just have a lockdown mode. Because Microsoft did this, where I don't think they do it anymore, but for a while there was PCs you would buy and they would have Windows 11 or Windows 10. I forgot. It was like, it was S mode. I think it was, I don't know if it was always called S mode, but it was like Windows 10 S mode and then Windows 11. And the entire point was that you could not install apps from outside the Microsoft Store. And it was just a switch you turn off in the settings, and then you have a normal PC. Mm-hmm. And I think that's technically what Android already sort of does. But I guess, well, sideloading doesn't have like a universal switch. It's like a per app thing.
Per app, what's allowed to do installs. Which I said, I did say that. I realized after I'd said it, I did kind of imply at the beginning that sideloading is currently locked behind developer options. That's not correct. ADB installations
Yeah.
are locked behind that, which that is almost exclusively how I actually install apps that way. So to be fair, that's my perception of it, and that would be not the whole story. That being said, I also think that's probably the workflow they should have had, or should have moved sideloading to, is basically stick it in developer options.
Yeah, and Jesse corrected me and said it was Windows 10s, but no one bought that OS, so they just made it a mode. I think that's what I was remembering with the two versions.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's also a totally acceptable alternative to me. I think that the only hard part with toggles, and why I can understand, I can sympathize with Google or anyone else building a software platform, is that the toggles don't like stop people.
No. And as a matter of fact, when they first published this, their intent to basically lock down sideloading, what they even said was, no matter what they do, basically if they have some sort of process to unlock stuff, users are just going to keep doing it. Like, straight up, users are just going to they're going to be given instructions. It doesn't matter how long those instructions are. They will be told how to unlock their phone, disable security features, whatever. And next thing you know, they will just do it. Like, that's a thing. And I don't dispute that. That is absolutely true. And it's funny because there's a good example of this. iPhones. So I forget what it's called, but there's a certain type of certificate you can install on an iPhone that basically gives, it's not root access, but it gives apps a lot more power than they should possibly have. And this is a pretty well hidden feature. It's not something that most people hear about or discuss. And the thing is, a lot of people actually have those installed because all an app basically has to do is include that certificate, prompt the user to install it. They have to follow a few extra steps in order to install it. And once they do, it's there, and you just never see it or hear about it again. And then it gives the app developer, again, way too much access, way too much power. And that's something that should just not be a thing. And I remember listening to this podcast by some Apple fans. And when they were talking about this, each of them opened up their iPhones and said, yeah, so here's the ones I didn't know I had installed, but they're on here. And it's creepy, some of the apps that people actually have. Like, some very big, well-known apps are using this. And sometimes it's understandable because they literally need it in order to do some features that are important. But it is not crucial for most of them. And again, like, it's a certificate that gives you just sort of carte blanche access to a bunch of things, not just like enabling one exception or one allowance. So really quick, also, I wanted to address this earlier, but let's see, I believe it was Hoopy who said, isn't this just what Apple did on the Mac? And the answer is yes. It is exactly what Apple did on the Mac. It's, in fact, not identical, but it's very, very close to identical. And to that I would say, that's the problem. We don't want Android to become like any of Apple's stuff, because that's, that people are really mad at the Mac situation still. It's awful.
And that's with, as far as I know, Apple has never been like, has never blocked apps for anything other than being actual malware, which is in direct opposition to how they've treated iPhone sideloading so far. where they're using that, like just random emulators getting blocked or whatever, or whatever that porn app was that said it got blocked. Um, but that doesn't mean they can't do it in the future, obviously. And it's still a massive headache for it, it's a cost. They use it as a cost barrier of entry too. That's why none of my browser extensions are on Safari, because they want $100 a year for that privilege, and I know I'm not going to get that back in revenue, so I'm just not going to do that. So my extensions are just not on Safari, and I have zero interest in building Mac or iOS apps.
Yep. That's well, I do have an interest in building the apps, but
Sure, I've messed around with it if it was an option.
but
Um,
well, and actually I've built several Mac apps that are just personal use, but yeah, I do not feel good about uh the prospect that you actually have to pay to get into the store or even just distribute properly. Now, technically, you can kind of get around paying and distribute in a few different ways, but that's such a messy flow, and it's complicated. And yes, you have to instruct users to disable security features in ways that, frankly, I don't think is appropriate. By that I mean telling a user, hey, we want you to turn off all of these security measures so you can install this app. Okay, sure. So now this is opening them up to malware. Like, it is basically part of Apple's recommended flow, so to speak. I know they don't recommend this, but seeing as it's the only option they're giving, they're basically telling users, we'd rather you have a less secure operating system because you want to use one app. It just happens to be an app that, for whatever reason, isn't going to go into the store. That is such a bad idea for that to be effectively the only course of action. And that's kind of where Google is sort of inching up to. Not quite, but it's getting close. And I don't like that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because it's like this was the entire point of building safer APIs and Play Protect and stuff, is so that you can have a switch that says, let me install whatever software I want, and it doesn't make your phone explode.
I mean, it still could, but
it still could. Well, so could a lot of things on the Play Store. So
yeah.
That's also what it comes back to, is like, I've seen what Google lets in there. I've seen what Apple lets in there. Even if some of it is not outright malware, it's a lot of it's just as harmful, if not more. So Google doesn't really seem to be the best judge of character in those terms, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Hoopy also said, basically, to give, well, I'll just read it. To give Google the mildest sympathy, there's probably a lot more scam and malware victims than sideloaders here, and those are real problems they should always be trying to solve however they can. I agree with this to a partial extent, but I don't agree with the sort of what the presumed inference there is. And I'm going to illustrate this in sort of almost a gross way, but imagine making that same exact argument, but about accessibility features. There are surely more people who don't need accessibility features than there are those who do. Therefore, should the OS be designed around people who don't need them? Or should it find a way to put them in? And we know the answer to that. Like, it's a very obvious answer. They should very clearly... I know the word sympathy probably wasn't quite the word you're... or it carries some weight that maybe you didn't intend there. But Um, but if you're talking about like what is the answer? The answer is find a way to do both. Google has some very highly paid software engineers, kind of a lot. That's one thing they're really well known for. Um, and for whatever reason, that woke up my phone, so that's fun. Um, they and it's their job to figure out solutions to hard problems. And so far, this is the solution they're trying to go with, which is to basically lock down sideloading, even if they're sort of hedging a little bit on how that's going to work. It's maybe not the best solution yet, or one that they should probably, maybe, for lack of a better way to put it, maybe they should be putting this out to the developer community and asking, like, hey, what other ideas are there? Give us some suggestions. We're open to them, because I don't get the impression that they are. And the rationales that they've given don't necessarily match the solution that they're presenting here. So yeah, I get that it's a hard problem, and that's where I think the word sympathy really is appropriate. It is a hard problem. But I also don't sympathize with them, because they are in control of one of the largest OSs in the world. Technically, it is the largest, I guess, now by install base. So they're the ones who have to get this right, and I don't think they're doing that.
No, they're failing.
And I think the way that they're not getting it right is effectively kind of a bad faith attempt. And that's where I run into the problem here.
Right. It's, again, going back to politics, same discussion we have over and over again about, like, the executive branch, or really any branch of government. It's like, do you need that much power? Should you have that much power? Because I don't know if I can trust you tomorrow or even today to properly use it. So maybe you just shouldn't have that to begin with. And at the end of the day, it's my phone. I bought with my own money.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off. That's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
I paid for it. It's mine. Again, you can have your big scary switch that's like, you're on your own. If you toggle this, I don't care. I understand all of the social engineering and interface challenges that comes with having a switch that, like, is meaningful at all in stopping people from misusing it. But again, I think that's what, in Android's case, I think that's what the entire last decade was to address, was so that even if you do get a dangerous app, it's still really difficult for them to do huge damage. And again, let's just talk about malware. Like, I can go on the Google Play Store right now and find a bunch of, like, AI girlfriend apps that are, like, just bordering on revenge porn. However many sports gambling apps we've got now, all these other categories. So I don't know, man. I don't fully trust you guys to do the right thing here.
So, and I like the way that Hoopy kind of already covered this in a later message. The part about scammers get old people to go to Walmart and buy $50 gift cards and text them all the numbers. They'll for sure convince people to turn on sideloading. Totally agreed. Which, first, and I know that this is a bit of a given, yeah, maybe that's one of those things that it'd be great if law enforcement could do a little bit better job of dealing with. There are certainly plenty of things that are relevant here. And I would certainly argue that Google has, how to say this, certainly has, like I said, a tough challenge to solve. Like, this is not easy. I don't for a second claim that it is or suggest that it could be easy. What worries me here isn't that it's not that I'm not worried that they aren't trying, and I'm not even saying that this solution that they're attempting here is I think it will work to an extent. I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to stop those scams. I don't think that it's going to I think a lot of those scams are just going to be enabled through other means. Like, installing apps certainly is a way that a lot of those scams happen, but let's be honest, those scams are going to happen whether or not people can install apps. And there are a lot of ways that scams and malware can happen that aren't really going to be stopped by this mechanism. This mechanism, it will inhibit some of that. It's not going to do that much. A lot of this stuff will just move back into being web-based. A lot of it, a lot of the reason why the scam apps work is because, one, they're pretty good at imitating what appears to be OS interfaces and sort of tricking people. So yeah, it'll slow down a few of those methods, but it's not going to do a ton there. A lot of them work kind of because it's harder to police stuff that's kind of getting moved around by hand. So like with a website, if anything happens, you go to whoever's hosting the website and take it down. Whereas with an app that's being distributed from person to person, you can't really do that. Except you could also just go to Google and say, hey, here's the signing key for that app. Just kill it. Like, this, send out a ping to every Android device saying, hey, do you have this app installed? Yeah, it's gone forever. And they can still do that. None of that stuff is going away. So I'm not convinced that that locking down sideloading in this way is going to really substantially and appreciably change the scam apps. It will be good for malware. It will shut down an amount of malware, but it's, I don't think, really going to inhibit scams in any way that's more than just superficial.
Yeah. I think we're mostly just talking in circles, but I'll finish it off with this last comment I liked. Poopy said they should put sideloading behind a simple time puzzle. I'm imagining the power connector puzzles from original BioShock. The ones that take a good minute to solve. I think that would really cut down people enabling that accidentally.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we can move on
or switch it to the lock key from Fallout 3 in New Vegas. Then you're just never installing it because I fuck that up every time. Yeah, so this is the one that was last week.
Yes.
Right. Okay, I'm on the right one now.
Yes.
Let's go, Corbin.
Yeah, I was talking about this at the end of last week's stream, and my voice just was giving out, so I had to bail out. But yeah, one of the things that was announced last week by Valve, in addition to obviously new hardware, is that the Steam Frame, the VR headset that they're going to be coming out with, is running Android apps. And those Android apps are actually going to be available through the Steam Store. So this effectively means that Android games are coming to Steam. Now, obviously, as Corbin discussed with me earlier, or it commented on, none of that means that they're going to be installable to phones. None of it means that they're going to be like a conventional app store for Android games. But I maintain the opinion that now that Google is kind of being pressured into supporting this flow a little bit more, and seeing as you don't build this infrastructure without taking advantage of it in as many ways as you might possibly conceive of, I just have a bit of a hunch that it won't be too long, and we're going to see a Steam store for Android, like just a straight up Steam store for Android. And I, for one, am here for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I don't know how much I have to say about this specific thing, other than I am interested in who ends up using this for the intended use case. Just because my impression is that, obviously they're doing this because the current standalone VR ecosystem is Android. All those the Quest runs Android, HTC's standalone thing, I forget if it's called Index or if it's a different product line, but they have something like Quest that also runs APKs, and so does there's another one in China. It's not Xiaomi, it's someone else. I think it's the ByteDance. They have one. It's all Android. So I know there's a massive library of VR games that are compiled to Android already. And I guess I'm wondering, like, are they going to use it? Because a lot of those are they're just built in Unity or Unreal or one of these other engines. And would they not just recompile that to I mean, they'd only in theory only have to recompile it to x86 PC VR, but if they wanted to go the extra mile, they could recompile it to Linux ARM for this. So I'm interested in like who ends up actually using that, because I feel like it would be about the same amount of work to just change the build target and fix what you need to fix. I don't know. Maybe a lot of VR games are using Android specific code for some reason that I don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't actually have any thoughts of what to say on a follow up to that. But yeah,
and
I don't
the
know.
Verge
You keep
article
going.
did also mention that Gamers Nexus says you'll be able to sideload Android APKs. So maybe that's more of the angle where like maybe VR games won't use that as much, but they're still like it's something we can do without that much work and adds utility. But I don't really know what I would want to sideload if I already have a Linux PC in front of me. There's like some niche use cases for sure, but it's already a full Linux PC. But yeah, I don't know. I know I wasn't here last week when you were talking about most of this. I will say I don't have that much of an opinion about the Steam machine and the Steam controller. Not really something I want for myself. The Steam frame is interesting. I will point out that I don't think I would want to buy it either, just because if I'm going to spend money on a VR headset again, I really want OLED. Like, I think that's the upgrade. Because like if I don't do that, then I'm just side grading for all eternity. And these are still LCD, so that's a bummer. And I know they did that. They removed the outside in the room scale tracking, it's called, from the Valve Index, which I don't personally have set up because I don't have Index or Vive setups. I've always used the inside out tracking, but I understand other people really wanted that. There's a couple other small downgrades too, but that would be pretty annoying for me. And I'm hoping that Valve eventually makes an OLED model like they did with the Steam Deck, where initially there was only the LCD Steam Deck, and then later on there was the OLED one. And I've seen a couple people discuss that with Samsung building the Galaxy XR. They're ramping up production of like those types of screens, and so maybe that would enable a Steam frame OLED or something. But that would be where I'm at, because I have a Quest 3. I'm using it a fair bit, and I would like to stop giving 3D scans of my home to Mark Zuckerberg. That would be good. That and just having a Meta device with access to my local network is not fun. But
yeah.
I'm not going to spend.
Considering they were busted snooping on app traffic using a VPN hack.
Yeah, maybe I'm part of the botnet right now. I don't know. I don't particularly care. But I don't really want to spend hundreds of dollars to upgrade again and get slightly better visuals. I think this would be higher resolution than what I have, but I would really like OLED. So I'm not planning on getting a new headset anytime soon. There's like a million other things I would be spending money on before I get to that point. But when it happens, it will, like, the Galaxy XR is still my next most likely thing. But by the time that happens, maybe there is a cheaper Galaxy XR or a different Steam frame or something. Or again, Valve talked about this being a platform for other devices, so maybe someone else will make an OLED Steam frame. I don't know.
Indeed.
But the Galaxy XR is also like $2,000, so I'm not buying that right now.
Yeah. It's going to be a little while before I look into something like that.
Yeah, I can wait.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we pretty much have hit everything on that topic. So yeah, our next is Firefox's new AI window. Now, before that, let me just say I see something I have to go take care of, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. But I'll let you take it away on this.
Okay. So no one tell Cody that I was about to get up to get some water. So there's going to be about 5 seconds here where no one is on screen. So I need y'all in the chat to just sort of like entertain yourselves for 1 moment, and I'll be 1 second. Keep doing it. Ooh. Okay, I don't have a water in the fridge, and it was going to take too long to pour water, so I got something else. Okay. Hoopy said I had the OG Vive with AMOLED in it, and it wasn't that different from Quest 2 to my eyes. Yeah, I would imagine. I know with VR, I don't know what off the top of my head the Vive had, but with the VR headsets, it's the panel type, it's the type of lenses, and it's the resolution. And I think the OG Vive and the Quest 2 had like kind of a similar resolution, and it was really low. I don't know off the top of my head though. But Austin said vodka. No, I don't drink. It's just another Celsius. I think this is like the third one today. I'm doing okay. And yeah, so there was another thing that Mozilla did that made me sad. So Mozilla's been rolling out some AI features in Firefox, and most of them are opt-in, so I haven't really had all that much to complain about. There were a couple where they added like a right-click menu option and other things that you have to go and hide if you never want to use it, or it's in the sidebar. And last week they announced the next big thing they're working on, that they call it an AI window, which is maybe not the right word for it. It's basically like a completely different mode for Firefox. And they talked about it as this. Actually, I'll just quote from them. They said, "Now we're excited to invite you to shape the work on our next innovation, an AI window. It's a new, intelligent, and user-controlled space we're building in Firefox that lets you chat with an AI assistant and get help while you browse, all on your own terms. Completely opt-in, you have full control, and if you try it and you find it's not for you, you can choose to switch it off." So there's no screenshots of this, not really a lot of like actual information, just the premise of like in Firefox you would have an AI window option alongside the normal browser window and a private window. So it's like another like different mode for the browser. Um so I saw this and I was kind of icky about it because I really don't like the AI browser trend in general. Um, I know some people have tried it and they like it. I've not really tried them. I don't want to. Um, I've seen a lot of the intended use cases for me don't hold up all that well. Like there's a lot of talk about using it to automate ordering things or getting groceries or whatever. But like I don't trust any of those to do that well. And a lot of those can be handled in other ways. So it really comes down to just having like an AI chat bar on the side of my browser, which I also don't really want or have a use case for. So I was kind of icky about it. And then I saw Cody's not going to be able to bring it up, but on that blog post, when you click the sign up button, it takes you to the page explaining the feature. It says AI window built for choice and control. The web is changing, and sitting it out doesn't help anyone. We were founded under the mission that the web should be open, fast, secure, and people first. As AI becomes a larger part of the web, we see a clear role to shape it in ways that support choice and keep the internet open and accessible to all. Blah blah blah. And it's that sentence that the web is changing and sitting it out doesn't help anyone that really gave me the ick. Um, because it's just the same language that all of the AI industry has been using, or really anyone benefiting from the wider availability of these tools, is to build it, because it's like if you're building data, endless data centers to power your AI models, and you have these wave of perfectly good arguments against it, like it's using a lot of energy, these models are being trained unethically, people aren't getting paid for the training material, whatever your issues are. One of the common responses has been like, well, it's going to happen, we're all going to live in the AI era, we just have to do it, or we're going to fall behind to China, all this other stuff. And I really don't like that line of thinking. And I think it's far more gross when Mozilla does it, because Mozilla isn't even like they're not. I would hope they behave better than this. And I also find it really gross where they talk about empowering, like basically like building a better web with AI as part of it. But like as we've seen from the last 2 years, AI makes the web worse, like just demonstratively worse than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Like Google searches is filled with articles written by AI that are not truthful and are just like someone generated them, put AdWords on it to make a quick buck, and that's what a lot of the web is now. And all of the AI models that are trained with data on the web that don't pay the creators. So I just the entire premise of this argument is gross and dumb, and I think Mozilla knows better, but they're choosing to be like this. Cody, I'm specifically talking about on that join or that sign up link on the blog post. Mm-hmm. There's a sentence that says the web is changing and sitting it out doesn't help anyone. And I want to hit whoever wrote that with a pool noodle, one of those like noodles that you give kids to be in the pool. Just nice slap.
Um,
Um,
I'm looking for that
so
wrong. Oh, is this?
it's on that
Hmm.
sign up page. Yeah. Um,
Oh, a different page that's linked
yeah,
in here. Okay.
yeah,
I was gonna say I
it's the
searched for those words and I didn't find any of them.
it's the starting today. You can sign up to receive updates. It's the link in there. Um, so yeah, just the entire premise of like this will happen anyway, and we need to be the leader is like enabling some of the worst behavior in the tech industry, or just all industries. You know, they're all like this. Like I don't know how many destructive tendencies we've done as a society of like we need to do this first, and you know, very rarely it ends up being for like a mostly nice use case. Like we got to go to the moon first before the communists. That time it was mostly fine. That time that was just job creation, and we went to the moon a couple of times. That's a fun time. Um, but this one again, it's so tone deaf to talk about building a better web with AI when it is in fact doing the exact opposite. And I talked about this a little bit on my Mastodon and Blue Sky, but like I can buy the argument that AI browsers are going to get more popular. I can buy the argument that there's going to be people using those features in Chrome or the ChatGPT browser or whatever who look at Firefox and go, "Well, this thing I like isn't in there, so I'm not going to switch." And maybe Firefox was down some market share. I think that definitely could happen. I don't know what the numbers on that would be, but I'm sure that's a possibility. And I also agree that like uh, a lot of the Firefox user base just gets pissed at every single thing Mozilla does. Like they cannot do anything right. And you know, a lot of times it's earned. I'm not saying it's not, but they do. There's just there every time something popular changes, there's that group of people who are going to complain about it. And I'm saying both of those things are real. The problem is that the last thing I forgot to expand on is there's going to be the people who hate anything AI. Like as soon as you say AI, they're throwing up in their mouth a little bit. I'm getting there, to be honest, but I'm not quite there yet.
I figured you were there a while back. Just
No, I mean
you found one
I'm
use for it that you like, and you kind of have acknowledged that's going to be your line in the sand. But
I'm not an AI hater necessarily. It's just like 80% of the use cases I don't like. The other 20% are fine. You know, all of these computers and phones getting like radically more powerful local machine learning hardware to enable the dumb stuff is kind of cool. But I'm not like a I'd like to think I'm justified in my criticism. I'm not like sort of just visceral reaction to everything. Um, but the problem is that I think Firefox's future depends on that group of people who get pissed at AI stuff all the time, who like uh this to me reads as like Mozilla chasing a market that might not exist in like a meaningful capacity. Again, I think those people are going to exist who come from AI features in Chrome and are like, where is this? But like, I don't, that's not proven yet. I don't think it's just way too early for that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's where Mozilla should be investing resources in at all, especially because like, at least in terms of the features in Firefox, I don't know if that's ever going to turn into something monetizable, which is what they need. Like we've seen the other AI browsers, like they have like paid plans because there's a server somewhere that has to automate things for you. I don't know if Firefox is going to get to that point, but that's that whole thing is kind of an unproven market as well. So I don't know. It's an example again of Mozilla like trying to find a market that probably doesn't exist, and chasing away their core user base at the same time. And that's going to be a problem when their core user base is their only user base that's left. I checked I forget what's like the web analytics that everyone uses, but I checked that the other day, and it's showing Firefox at 2.2% global usage.
Ooh, that's so much worse than I thought it was.
Yeah, Safari's at like 10 or 15, I think.
It
I
shouldn't
think
be,
it's like
but sure.
I think it's 10. Yeah. Like it's just like there's not a lot of those people left, and increasingly Mozilla is reliant on that core audience to be its advocates. Like, how many people are switching to Firefox because a friend or a family member told them to, or just did it for them? They installed it on their computer. Because I've done that with multiple family members. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm installing Firefox and uBlock Origin on your computer. Please use that.
It's like how I used to put VLC on everyone's computer.
Yeah, yeah, that's another one. So, like, I really do not understand this thing where they annoy their core audience over and over and over again when they're getting smaller. Like, if they were doing this in the argument as something that would definitely make them money, sure. Like, I don't know, but this is just
so you want them to do payday loans and buy now, pay later.
Yeah, I want them to do like weapon skins, Steam trading cards,
horse armor. Yeah. Okay, so I'm fully with you on the argument that their core audience is what's relevant here. I do question. So it's funny because what you said earlier about that sign up page, the web is changing and sitting it out doesn't help anyone. The funny thing is, I actually agree with the sentiment. I don't agree with necessarily what they're trying to use it to justify.
Right. I agree from it in the same way as, like, this hurricane is coming and we can't ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, the danger exists, whether or not Mozilla acknowledges. That's true. The web is being just shitted on endlessly by AI slop dumping into Google search and Reddit and all these other platforms we're using constantly. But I don't think the answer to that is like, let's embrace it. No. What are you doing?
So
actually we understand the hurricane is coming, so we're going to flood our house ahead of time to join forces with the hurricane.
So what I would like to have seen, because okay, I missed the intro to this and I didn't read, other than skimming a little bit, I didn't really get exactly what this is, but correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this basically just AI chatbot that does like summarization and a couple of other things, basically the same stuff we've seen every other browser already do, and there are extensions that do it before the browsers did it, and like they're not really doing anything new here, they're just basically making the exact same thing everyone else already has, right?
I would assume this is more in the range of like automation, like what the ChatGPT browser and Google Chrome demo, where it's like browsing the web for you, because they already have this.
So it's somewhat agentic.
They already have like the sidebar in Firefox, normal Firefox. It's not like as baked into the browser necessarily as like Gemini and Chrome, but like it's a panel you can put one of several AI chatbots in there, and I think they can access like something about the page you're viewing. I've not used it, but I know that part's already there. So I would assume if it's like a completely different paradigm for Firefox, it's beyond that, but they're not giving details yet.
Okay. Yeah, just I've neglected to say it earlier, but about the side-loading Android thing, I noticed that they gave ideas of what they're doing, but didn't give details, and here Mozilla's doing the same thing, which it just kind of strikes me sometimes as we want to announce things and then we want to see what the public response is before we actually give away all the details, because we really just want to know how much people are angry before we give them specifics to get angry about. It's the vibe check. So here's the thing, like, fine, chatbots. Okay, like you said earlier, you're okay with some uses of AI, obviously not all. For the most part, the thing that I'm kind of running into is I really like, and in some cases love, seeing AI used in certain capacities. I don't love it as much with chatbots. Most chatbots I find to just be a thin veil around like copyright infringement. And that's not to say that they can't be useful. Certainly they can be, but I feel like if Firefox is going to be doing anything, it needs to do more interesting things here. Because going back to what you were saying about their core audience is what matters. If their browser market share is so low, they don't necessarily need to provide the thing that people found in other browsers. They should be providing something that people don't have in other browsers. Something that makes people want to come to Firefox. Even if it's missing a feature, they need to have the new killer feature that everyone says, oh, that's really neat.
Which they did. Which Firefox implemented a completely local web page translation, which is not, it's not using an LLM, it's using like some other neural language model type thing. I forget the exact name of it, but like that's something that no other browser had. And it's pretty darn cool. But that's just baked in the normal browser. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know what would be beyond this, except I don't know, like, again, the browsing automation stuff or something else. But again, nothing in this blog post gives me any like hope in that direction. That'd be something interesting and useful. They do talk about like the only like really concrete sentence we get in here is, it's a new, intelligent, and user-controlled space we're building in Firefox that lets you chat with an AI assistant to get help while you browse on your own terms. So the only detail is some form of chat, which again is in the default Firefox and is not super helpful, at least to me. I've used Gemini and Copilot like a fair bit over the last 2 years. Not so much recently because they're both kind of dumb. Yeah. Like honestly, the last, like, I've gotten used out of it in the past for like writing FFmpeg commands and that kind of stuff. Or sometimes I'll be like, can you find examples of this? Like I've asked Gemini this a couple days ago. Like, I knew there were certain web APIs that didn't work in Firefox and worked in Chrome, or vice versa, something, but like I don't remember them off the top of my head, and it would take a lot of clicking around MDN to find those. So it's like, can you just find some of these? And it gave me a list. So like, okay, thanks. So like it's been kind of fine for that, but other use cases where I'm like trying to debug some complex JavaScript code, or I was trying to get it to do something in the page generator I'm using for my personal website, and it was just giving me nonsense. And it'd be like, it's still, and it's just, if I scroll back on the chat, it's just like, that didn't work. And then chatbot's like, oh shit, I'm sorry, it's actually this. I'm like, still doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is not getting me closer to where I need to go.
Yeah, and that's again been my experience largely anyway with a lot of the coding chatbots. Is just, as much as I've tried to get them to generate usable code, a lot of times they just don't. They're the results tend to be along the lines of bad guesses or just invented frameworks. That's not to say that's exclusively the experience, but it happens more than I would want. So yeah, I don't know. Every time I hear about agentic stuff with the web, I keep trying to think, what does this look like? And all too often the answers are pretty much, oh yeah, it'll fill out forms for you, or it could go buy something for you or something like that. And it's like, wait, we already have autofill for forms. Like, this isn't a this is a thing that was solved over a decade ago,
Yeah,
more or
and the
less.
the
We
one example that I see keep coming up, Google used this when they're talking about the new Chrome update, and I've seen this in other cases, is like grocery shopping for you and saying like, I need this kind of butter, I need this kind of milk, whatever, and it buys it for you. But it's like every like somewhat major grocery chain I've used, or DoorDash or whatever, they all have the ability to add items to a list, and you click a button and it puts all those in your cart again.
mm-hmm.
Like this, we already solved this.
Yeah.
It's just like you're just making a worse way to solve the problem that's already been solved.
Yeah. Not only is it worse, it's a lot slower, it's clunkier, it's more apt to make mistakes. Yeah, this isn't solving a problem, it's literally creating a new one. So, yeah, that's so often been the issue that I keep finding with a lot of these agentic promises. They seem to just want to recreate the same things that we already have, but worse. And that's not to say that they won't get better. Obviously, some, like, this is, I've said this so many times. It's obviously, like, we had to create airplanes that, sure, in the early days, they fell out of the sky a lot. We had to create these things that weren't very good so that we could get to a place where they were a lot better. If we hadn't created the original airplane, we would never have gone to space. We never would have the ability to, like, lift like injured people out of ravines using a helicopter. Like, if we hadn't done those things, obviously, like, it would be worse. So we need to create the bad thing now, make it better, and eventually it will become that good thing. I'm not convinced Firefox is the one who should be making that gamble, or paying that toll. But I just keep coming back to the, how is this actually better, and should people be using it in meaningful numbers? Like, it's novel to see this, but it's not a good experience yet. So
Well, it's not an experience
I
at
don't
all.
yeah, it's not even an experience at all. But even in the things,
It's nothing promising yet.
Yeah, it's nothing promising, and it's not a product yet. And that's where I kind of keep running it into this, and why I also think, and I've said this so many times, when it comes to AI, we saw this happen already. Like, a lot of companies, well, a few companies came out with their AI stuff, and everyone's like, oh, okay, so you're doing AI now. Well, what's the product? Like, what does this do? How is this useful? And obviously some people just immediately saw, oh, chatbots, they can generate content, and yay. But outside of that, we haven't actually seen a lot of product, like actual things that people should be using. Now, granted, there are people who are trying any and every AI they can get their hands on. Read, dude, it buys a bed that tries to guess the right temperature for him. But we're in this territory where a lot of these things still aren't really products, but the companies have this obligation to turn them into products. They're trying so hard to make whatever they can into a product, and sometimes Sometimes that actually is working well. Let's be honest. While I have had really mediocre experiences with chatbots trying to code anything, there are people out there who are actually getting pretty good use out of coding tools. Meanwhile, we're also seeing idiotic stuff like this where they're trying to make a tool that can shop for you. And that shopping experience isn't going to be good. It's certainly not going to be better than what a grocery store can build if they're just building a thing. So I feel like all too often companies are trying too hard to come up with something that is a novelty, but it's not actually worth having. It's sort of like just filling your house with tchotchkes that you eventually just stick into a drawer. Like, they're there, you have them. Do you want to have them? No. Should you have them? No. Does having them hurt you? Actually, yeah, it kind of does, because at a certain point you have too many of them, and they're just in the way. And that's what I feel like we're possibly going to see here. I shouldn't say that we are, but this feels like one of those features that they could spend a lot of money developing. It's going to possibly run on computers and chew up a lot of performance and RAM, and basically just use up more CPU cycles. And it'll be a lot of development effort that they'll keep trying to maintain for long periods of time. And for what? I mean, maybe it pays off, but it probably doesn't. And that's kind of where this dies on the vine for me.
There's a couple comments stacked. Hoopy said, I don't want to see Mozilla making an AI browser. I want them to see them shamelessly ripping off your image label extension with an embedded model. Thank you. I agree. That would be nice. So I have like a very distant to-do item to see what I can, if that can be switched to the internal AI models that are now shipping with web browsers. However, that's on pause because I've turned all of those off on my computers, because at least the one in Firefox, which was part of the reason I was criticizing this announcement in article, was that they shipped something that I think was only being used to like automatically sort tabs into tab groups. It was causing like CPU and RAM spikes because it wasn't optimized right or something. I don't know. So I have the as much of the AI stuff in Firefox turned off as possible because I don't want that to happen. I'm not really going to use it. And I also have that turned off in Edge, which is the only Chromium browser I'm using. So when I feel like turning either of those back on, I will investigate that.
I kind of groaned a little bit at that just because I hate tab groups. I really do.
I don't use them. I only ever use them accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do have Edge installed, and I use it for a very small set of things. And every single time I drag a tab, it latches on so easily and tries to create tab groups. And it's like, no, I don't want this. Please stop doing this. Finally, I installed an extension that its whole purpose is anytime a tab group is created, it just immediately moves the tabs back out of the tab group and deconstructs it. Like, why do I have to install an extension to fix this terrible feature? That is mind-boggling to me. But anyway.
Yeah. Hoopy said, I'm with Coda. I figured you'd be pretty AI by now, anti-AI by now. Yeah, I'm like, I think parts of the technology are fine and useful. Like you said later, you were using them as documentation lookup. Like, that's a use. I think a lot of the accessibility stuff is really cool, especially the fact that the push for AI is pushing that into local hardware. which is where it needs to be for a lot of stuff to work well. So we're getting some benefit out of it, at least. It's just like 90% of the use cases for AI that are advertised. I don't really like. I don't. Not a big chatbot person. I think like the various AI girlfriends and whatnot are probably gonna destroy a lot of people. Obviously, the just normal Chat GPT doing psychosis on a lot of people is not great. And obviously, I'll use an exact example because I think they deserve it. Is quite often I'll see people share in a Discord room I'm in, or just on social media or whatever, articles from Cord Cutters News, which has been very obviously writing every single article with ChatGPT. It's like the most blatant AI writing where it's got no backlinks. It's doing the sentence structure of like, whether it's this thing or this thing is happening, or like there's this is stirring controversy for this. If you read like 5 of them in a row, you can clock it. I imagine this is the same experience that like every English teacher in the world is going through, where they eventually you can lock it in. But I still see their articles pop up all the time because they still make it in a Google search all the time. They still make it in a Google Discover feed all the time. And every time I see that, I'm like, that could have been something I wrote, you know? Like, sometimes I'm even covering the same stuff, but their article gets better reach. Not because it's better, it's garbage. In fact, they're actually wrong a lot of the time too. Shocker, but that was before they started writing everything with AI. But it's like there's a million sites like that now where it's like, okay, the advertising dollars in the eyes that could have gone towards work that a human wrote is going to something that a machine shit out, and successfully pried attention away from something I wrote. So that's, you know, a lot of stuff like that where I'm not happy about it. But I'm not like a throw every data center, or like, you know, torch every data center you see kind of level of AI hate. Especially when it gets to the arguments about like, like energy usage and that kind of stuff, where there's just way too many variables, I think, for most people to make a coherent statement. And it also gets difficult where it's like, I don't want to be the we live in a society guy, but there's a lot of other things I think we could cut electricity usage on first. But I don't need to defend the AI, bro. So I'll leave it there. I'm not a like destroy everything yet. I do think there's a lot of AI companies that need to not exist anymore, for sure, though.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, really. I mean, companies in general. I stop there. You know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Chevron doesn't need to be that big. I don't know.
Maybe Elon Musk's companies don't need to be that big.
Yeah.
Or that existent. And not all of them. Let's keep a couple and throw out the rest.
And then Hoopy also said, I don't know how baked in Gemini in Chrome is. It does almost nothing. Yeah, I was saying about the things that were announced like 2 months ago, I think, that are supposed to roll out at some point, like the full automation stuff in like Gemini and the address bar and that kind of thing. But I don't know what the status on that is because I don't use Chrome myself. So so that's the Firefox AI stuff that I'm not super happy about. And we have one more news item in here about AI, and then I think we're probably done.
Yeah,
because not a lot else happened.
No, it has been technically a busy week. It's just not a good topical week.
Yes, I've written about a lot of news this week. I would not care to discuss most of it.
Yeah.
Pretty boring.
But so unfortunately this is one of those that falls into the hasn't actually happened yet, but it could. The apparently Europe is looking at scaling back the DMCA and or sorry, not DMCA, the GDPR and its AI Act. So these are two different legislations that obviously have been well, the GDPR has been extensively it, I guess influential would be a word. Um, I I don't know if that's quite the
Notorious.
right. Yeah, laborious. Oh my god. But
Oh, I said notorious, but
oh
that's also a good adjective for that.
yeah, anyone who's had to put any GDPR into anything, or I guess phrasing and acknowledgement and all that stuff. If you've done that at all, yeah, laborious fits. Anyway, um, so of course, I think most people know what the GDPR is. Maybe not what it stands for, but it's the General Data Protection Regulation, and it is a gigantic law. When you actually like look into how much it affects, it's certainly much bigger than just cookies on websites. But um, the super short summary, in at least as far as most people are really aware of, is that it's a giant privacy law that has that basically says how companies are allowed to collect private information, even not so private information, what they have to disclose before they collect anything, that they basically have to give opt-out procedures for anybody. They have to allow they have to allow people to demand that their any data collected about them can be deleted. There's they have rules about how data can be sold to other partners. It goes on and on. Anyway, tons of stuff like that. And apparently businesses in Europe aren't happy about this. They're evidently blaming it for reasons why they can't be competitive. And so they want that changed. And as it turns out, the US government, which let's remember who that entails right now. So, always questionable. But the US government apparently has also been pressuring the EU to drop the GDPR or at least make substantial changes. And evidently, they're talking about doing it. The specifics of the bill have not been shared, but apparently they are working on bringing this to all of the legislation and all of the European legislation, and basically bring it to the member states and try to start a process of it, not completely eliminating the GDPR, but effectively gutting it. And just to note, everything I just said about that, it also basically applies to the AI Act, which passed just last year. And the AI Act, for lack of a better way to put it, also put some pretty big limitations and restrictions on anything involving AI. So, yeah, a lot of companies not happy, and they want it gone.
Yeah, I guess it was inevitable there would be a little bit of backtreading from just it seemed like a pretty reasonable amount of legislation. Just the existence of something being there that's like, hey, you need to like test this for safety and like tell us which data sets you're using and stuff. And then Meta's like, oh my god, they're killing us. They're killing innovation. You have Apple over there who's like, we can't bring our incredible Apple Intelligence features to you because your dirty government won't let us. They're stifling our innovation, the innovation just being copyright infringement. So yeah, I guess it was inevitable. I hope it doesn't happen, obviously, because also again, not still not like as strong as it probably should be, but it is better than nothing, which is what we have. And in fact, you didn't put this in, but there were some uh, news reports today and yesterday about how the Trump administration might try to recreate the ban on AI state level legislation that was going to be in that
Ugh.
big funding bill that got taken out. It'll be recreated as some other thing enforced another way, but that might happen. Which again, I love my small government Republicans telling states what they can't do. Um, so it's disappointing. I hope the EU doesn't cave dramatically on it. If for no other reason, then it's just funny to watch the tech companies behave like this. Like honestly, I've never seen funnier press releases and corporate blog posts than what the EU has gotten out of like Google and Apple and Microsoft. Like just the absolute seething rage of Apple when they are forced to let some more apps on an iPhone than they would like is incredible. Um, so I hope they continue to own the tech companies, because it usually also just ends up helping normal people uh, at the same time. And you can't ask for a better outcome out of legislation, I think.
Yeah. So, um, okay. So my thinking on this is, uh, the AI Act. I actually kind of get why they want to basically rein that in, because admittedly their terms for the AI Act, from what I remember of it, it was pretty strict. And a lot of companies, when it was imposed, the reaction was basically, yeah, we basically just can't do AI in Europe to the same level that the Americans are doing it, and that's going to be a massive advantage for the Americans. So they're right about that. I don't think there's really much disputing it. That's not saying that it should be that way, but um, it, this is going to sound like kind of a weird way to frame it, but uh, I think it's kind of comparable to sort of the sort of like the nuclear weapons subject. Basically, if someone else is building it, we can't just let them build it. We have to build our own, just so we can have the sort of mutually assured destruction. But it's obviously, this isn't about that. But you basically can't compete if you're not competing. Like, you will fall behind, and you're basically ceding everything to somebody else. So from that perspective, the AI Act kind of was actually maybe not super well thought out. And at the same time, it obviously was kind of funny, though, that you saw a bunch of American companies all throwing fits, because it's like, oh, we get to do all this stuff in our homeland, but if we try to offer these products over there, oh, the big bad scary evil government's gonna tell us no. Yeah, that's how governments work, losers.
Yeah. And
um
it's not even like, and I know also there's this reputation of like that uh a lot of corporate adjacent people like to give of like the EU being this, super ultra woke force in the global economy. It's like, not really. They're better than the US at that for sure, but there is it's still not really there. Still at times incredibly difficult for them to pass anything because they're a bunch of very different countries strung together. Um, so it's just, again, always funny when the EU makes companies mad. I appreciate it. because we're sure not going to do that. Someone has to.
Yeah. So now as far as the GDPR goes, and Hoopy's saying hot take, GDPR good. I agree. The GDPR was fantastic. It's a thing that needed to be there. It had to happen. Does it accomplish what it sets out to do? In many cases, yes. Did it accomplish some of the wrong things that it shouldn't have done? Yeah. I'm sorry, but the cookie opt-out situation on web pages is frankly a comedy act. It's so ridiculous because I don't know, I'm pulling this number out of my butt, but I'm sure like 95% of people literally just click OK, accept all or whatever, and move on. They don't read it, they don't look at what they're agreeing to. What's the point? Like, why is that a thing if all it's going to do is just get the typical like end user license agreement workflow? Like, if people just automatically click it and agree and never think about it again, like, all right, we're right back there where you just click OK on 100 dialogues that Apple or Microsoft pop up. Like, that doesn't make it better. Which one of the things mentioned in this Verge article is that apparently one of the things that they want to do, let's see, I'll quote what they have here. One change that's likely to please almost everyone is a reduction in Europe's ubiquitous cookie banner and pop-ups. Under the new proposal, some, quote, non-risk cookies won't trigger pop-ups at all, and users would be able to control others from central browser controls that apply to websites broadly. Thank you. This is something that should have been there from the beginning. It should have been a statement of like, hey, if a browser supports this, there should be a feature where basically you as a user should just be able to say, yep, on all websites, I want no tracking cookies. I want none of this type of thing. I want none of that type of thing. Create some categories that make sense. And this should just be a sort of a standard protocol. Website.
Yeah, which was so funny because they did do that. Like 15 years ago, there was the do not track thing in web browsers. Mm-hmm. But of course, it was one of those things where it relied upon the market regulating itself.
Yeah.
So it did not work.
Nice fantasy.
Yeah. It was like fully designed with the goal of like, well, no one's going to click it, right? No one's going to opt out, so it doesn't matter. And then I don't remember which one it was, but one of the Internet Explorer updates disabled it by default, which would have meant effectively it was disabled for most people because most people are using IE at the time. Everyone flipped out and started ignoring it, so that didn't work.
Yeah.
So if you see a checkbox in your web browser that's like do not track and you're wondering what's this do, the answer is nothing.
Yeah. So, and look, I'm sure that's the position that this would eventually get to as well. It is what it is, but yeah, at the very least, if we're already in that position where websites mostly don't respect the opt-in or opt-out flow that they give you, and even when they do respect it, most users aren't really using it anyway. I mean, I do. When I get to a website, every single time that something pops up, I open the dialogue. I don't reject everything. I leave certain specific types of things enabled, but for the most part, I reject all the creepier stuff. And I still don't think that's really doing anything because I'm pretty sure the companies don't really respect those choices anyway. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are respecting them, but I kind of doubt it. But at least let's simplify this process, because it's pretty straightforward when we just need to say, you know what, here's the reality. Let's just have a thing that saves some clicks and gets these out of the way, because there's just no point to them anymore. They're not getting the job done.
Yep.
Okay.
I have no other opinion.
Yeah. So anyway, again, this isn't something that's gone into effect yet. If yeah. So also, as The Verge notes, the proposed overhaul won't land quietly in Brussels, and if the development of the GDPR and AI Act are anything to go by, a political and lobbying firestorm is on its way. So yeah, I mean, this is the start of this thing. The proposal has to go to the European Parliament and all 27 of the member states, where they have to have a qualified majority, which qualified majority, if I remember, doesn't that mean it's got accept only necessary cookies? It has to be 55% of the member states in favor.
Okay.
So 15 out of 27.
I don't know how the EU works, because it's like 15 times more complicated than how the US works.
It really is. Except the US has overcomplicated everything. So I don't know about 15 times anymore. I think they're just like twice as complicated. But yeah, anyway, so maybe this happens, maybe it doesn't. So sometime around the point where I have to start moving around with a walker or a wheelchair, maybe they'll change something, which is kind of about as fast as the EU ever moves on anything.
It's faster than the Senate. Oh, got him.
Hey, the Senate was quick to one thing. They all freaking agreed to release the files.
After like 2 years.
Okay, well, yeah, but the House did it.
That's true. They did one thing.
Yeah.
That's good. Be nice if they could do multiple things.
Oh, they're going to do plenty of bad things in return, I'm sure. Always be confident. Anytime something bad can be done, it will be done. It's the U.S. Government's motto. So, yeah, I believe that about wraps it up. I don't think there's much else to say. Unless there's anything you'd like to mention. Any other topics that you have strong feelings about?
Nope. I'm gonna go see a movie in like an hour.
Oh, what? Oh,
I'm seeing Wicked again, and then in 2 days the new Wicked, because I've not seen the first one since it came out, so I was gonna watch it again anyway. And luckily for me, they were happy to take my additional $13 or whatever to do it on a big screen. So I'm like, sure, I'll treat myself. This is a fun Corbin activity. So,
okay. All right. So let's see. Regarding next week, since it is the day before Thanksgiving when we would be streaming, I'm going to let's see how news goes. If there's a really worthwhile topic or two, I'll stream. If not, it might be a skipped week. We'll see how it goes. Because I have a feeling a lot of people are probably either going to be traveling or busy. Family stuff tends to always kind of start a little before Thanksgiving, or at least setting up for it. So I kind of don't expect a lot of people to be available for watching, listening, but we'll see. I don't know. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know. If no one's doing anything, and if everyone wants to stream, let me know, and I'll cobble something together anyway. But yeah, we will see what next week brings. You were about to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Then don't. So yeah, I think that about covers that. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out, and being part of the stream. If you were a chatter, awesome. Definitely love it. Having people talk back to us is part of the energy of the show, and I love it. Tell us we're wrong too. I don't know why. It's just funny. Because we're wrong often. But let's see. If you enjoyed the show and would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Any little bit helps. It's always welcome. And of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: Austin, Carson, David, Diablo, and Alyssa. Let's see. Oh, and of course, if you're doing any shopping this season, including some Black Friday shopping, feel free to check out my website, codytoombs.com, where I have currently a couple of product recommendations, and I will be making some more. If you click through those links and add anything to your cart, even if it's not the things that you click through to, I get a cut of that, and that's always appreciated. Yay. So anyway, with that, I will be back this weekend for some game streams, you know, the usual routine. And that about covers it. So I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their week. I will see you all in Discord. And good night, everybody.
Bye.